All right. Good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning.
Welcome to Stake Your Wealth Live Edition. Your hosts, Greg and Mary Daphne. And what we do in these lives is go into depth on the lesson that we released that week. And the lesson this week was about not setting your budget, not basing your budget on your salary, right? And that's something that we often do. We think, okay, I get paid this much per month from my employer. And so, they essentially use that as the basis for saying, okay, I can spend this much on this and this much on that. And they essentially get it such that their spending is just below what they're taking home in pay. And maybe some of that goes to savings. That's great too. But the point is your salary isn't a great basis for determining how much money you should be spending every month. You can spend as much as you're making, and that works until you suddenly don't have a salary. Maybe you get fired. Maybe your company goes under. Maybe something else happens.
Right. Maybe you have unexpected bills in another area that you need to, address and use that money for.
Well, yeah, there could be other uses for the money too, certainly. But the key here is you don't want to set your budget on a source of income that's not reliable.
Right. That's
not guaranteed.
Right.
It's out of your control, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't choose whether to keep your job or not. That's a decision your employer makes.
Yeah. Or just the climate of the world, like the industry, right.
But ultimately the employer is still making the decision,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's either way. It's not something that you can.
You don't have control over it,
right? And that's the key here. Instead, you want to base your budget on a source of income that you do have control over, right?
At least more control over than you would if it were tied to an employer. Or evaluations, that kind of thing.
Or another way to put it would be income that isn't reliant on a single determinant factor, right? Which again, if your salary, that's the single determinant factor is the employer choosing whether or not to keep you as an employee.
Right, and you talk about having different sources of income that are not they're not related, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in our 3-step guide to building wealth, one of the things we focus on is the importance of uncorrelated, uncorrelated income streams.
Right. So not all eggs in one basket in a layperson's terms, right?
Exactly. And the most important income stream of the uncorrelated ones that I would argue is the passive income stream. And this is what we talked about in the lesson, passive income. And when people think of passive income, I think the definition is too broadly defined.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I think a lot of people, there's this glamorous side to it where it's like, make money while you're at the beach, make money while you're sleeping, make money while you're watching Netflix on the couch. That's what the passive income trope tends to call to mind, right?
And it's dangled in front of people like this carrot.
Right.
Now, there is real passive income, but a lot of what people call passive income isn't actually passive. You still have to do a lot of work to get it done.
Yeah. And you won't make that money up front. If you're, producing videos, no one's going to watch them in the beginning. You're not going to be making money from them. You're going to put in a lot of work hours, a lot of time, sweat, tears, whatever. And, you'll make that money later kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
that's something to
instant.
Keep in mind too.
So the passive income, let's just talk about it for a second. I plan to do an actual video on this.
Yeah, you definitely should.
I just want to touch on this
it's a good one.
right now. Passive income means you really do nothing to get it, right? To get that work. So for example, YouTube. A lot of people think of their YouTube channel as passive income. Well, it's not passive income, right? This is a lot of work. Putting together the content, thinking about content, strategy about content, engaging with the audience. None of that is passive. That's very active and engaged.
Yeah.
It's a great source of income if you get good at it, and it's pretty reliable if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's not passive, and so it still suffers from that risk, right?
Yeah.
Where, for example, YouTube could shut down their your channel for whatever reason. It didn't like the content you were putting up. You might run out of material to produce. Your studio equipment might break down.
Right.
Whatever the case may be.
You might be in a remote part of the world that doesn't have internet access anymore or somehow, or there might be a power outage.
Yeah. So the production of the content that drives the income in that case is not passive.
Yeah.
Now, taking that same example, you could say that some of your YouTube income is passive because once it's up there, it continues to generate revenue irrespective of you putting up new content, right? And so in that case, the stuff you've already put up there can start to become a passive income stream
Right.
as it continues to generate views.
Yeah.
The only problem is if you sort of, this is turning into a YouTube channel discussion, but if you stop producing the content, gradually your channel's going to get less and less activity and you'll get less and less income.
Right.
So, I would say it's sort of a middle ground area. But there is one source of passive income that really is passive, and that is your investments.
Yeah.
Right? You can make investments like if you invested, I talk all the time about investing in diversified, low-fee, market tracking index funds.
On Wealthfront and Betterment.
On Wealthfront and Betterment. Those are just the two platforms I really like to use. But those are situations where you literally, you put your money in there.
You don't lift a finger.
Yeah, after you put it in, it's done, and it's just going to start working for you. And you really can be on the beach, and it will be making money for you. You'll be losing money from time to time in short-term periods.
But mostly you'll be making money.
When the market fluctuates.
Yeah, if you make the right types of investments and also if you diversify your portfolio, like you said.
Over time.
Over time.
Yeah, over time, it does go up, at least historically since we've had a stock market. So that's a pretty good basis for saying it does go up over time. So the reason I went so into depth on this is because I want people to understand what I mean when I say passive income, right? And why that's so much more reliable as a source of income than your salary.
For sure.
Right?
I think it's great. It's comforting to have a salary. It's nice to know that you'll be getting a paycheck every month. But I think, to the extent that you can, find ways through like investments and passive income that way. And maybe like starting up a side hustle, opening an Etsy shop or starting a YouTube channel, recognizing that in the beginning, it's going to be a lot of work. Actually, throughout the entire process, it will be a lot of work, but you reap what you sow. And so if you really commit to something and you recognize that it's for anything, right? It's not a race. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Then I think putting that in perspective can help you, increase your spending power.
Totally. Yeah. And that's actually a big part of passive income that turns people off. Yeah. They love the idea of making money while they sleep. And by the way, that's not the real definition of passive income. That's just business income, right? Business income means you get money while you sleep. Yeah. Even your salary, you're technically getting money while you sleep.
Right, exactly.
Those are all money while you sleep. You can go to a beach and sip Mai Tais and still make your salary. You just have to go back to work a few days later. But your point is a very valid one, which is this doesn't happen overnight, right? Passive income takes time to build, and it's much lower typically than your salary would be. So what happens when people transition from a salary-based
right.
spending budget to a passive income budget is their spending power drops dramatically.
Right, and then add the lifestyle inflation to the mix, and it can get a little bit
and that's the problem. So
right?
They have a lifestyle that's configured to match their salary,
right?
Whereas their passive income stream is much lower. Then you run into a situation where you're like, oh, I can't pay for any of this stuff.
Cup of noodles.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
you have to reassess. You have to reassess your spending, and that's sort of the topic of this discussion, which is setting your spending limits based on your passive income. And I think we've done a good job sort of covering what that means to your passive income means. And in terms of setting your spending limits, you need to figure out what you can reliably expect from your passive income on a monthly basis. And it doesn't mean, this month and next month, right? It really should be over the period of a long time.
Yeah.
Over a year, a couple of years. Like, what can you expect over that period? And once you can sort of calculate how much is coming in passively,
right,
then you can start to determine what your actual real spending power is. Because you don't want, again, if you feel like your spending power is your salary, you're going to spend a lot more than you're really qualified to spend,
Right.
at least if you want to be financially secure.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, the salary is just not guaranteed. If that shuts off, you're in a real,
You're in a
unfortunate
pickle.
situation.
You'll
You're
be
in a real
pi-
pickle.
You'll be in a pickle. Um, who knows why that expression is the way it is? But I mean, I've
Pickles
happened
are
to
delicious.
love pickles. Exactly. The marvels of the English language we love so much. But I think also it's you know, being optimistic too. So if you were in the event that you did lose your job, then, you know, you could find another. And I think related to that is to constantly keep yourself, this is a little tangent in that you're still keeping yourself fresh, right? Making yourself like desirable in the job market. So building new skills, like, you know, empower yourself, power up, so to speak.
Right.
So in the event that that were to happen, you know, maybe take some of your salary and put it into, like, I don't know, an emergency fund or a skills building fund, you know, for a rainy day.
Yeah, so that's another important point, which is that your salary still does matter, right? Regardless of your passive income stream, your salary still matters, and it's good to have a salary because you can use that to build up your passive income stream, right? The more you make, the more you can funnel into your investments, whatever your passive income stream is, and that will increase your spending power. But it's not a 1-to-1. It's really like a 1 to 25 if you follow the 4% rule.
Yeah.
So which means for every $25 you make, that's $1 increase in your spending power. And we can go into the math in another lesson, but that's sort of the idea, right? The money you make isn't directly spendable. At least you shouldn't think about it that way. The money you earn from a salary should instead be however much of it you can invest, and the returns on that investment becomes your actual spending power. So don't go quitting your job, like I said in the video.
No.
You know, you want to use that income and build it. Eventually, you'll get to a point where your passive income stream is large enough that you don't need a job, you don't need the salary.
But if you enjoy
that's a
it,
great
you
situation.
keep it up.
Sure,
right?
yeah. If you enjoy your job, keep working.
Yeah.
My point simply is you can get to a stage where your passive income stream is substantial enough that work becomes
inconsequential, basically.
inconsequential,
Right?
unnecessary, for your financial security.
Like you do it for other reasons than just the monetary aspect of it.
Yeah. And then you know, just to close, I think the other important thing is understanding that this is a gradual process, right?
For sure.
If you haven't started on your passive income stream yet, it's impossible to set your spending limits at that level because you know at first you're only making a couple dollars a year, right? You can't live off of that.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a gradual transition from basing your spending on your salary to spending based on a passive income stream. But it'll give you, as you start to sort of, you know, engage in that process, you start to get a sense of what is possible to make from a passive income stream, how long it's going to take, and start to adjust your spending accordingly, which in most cases means dialing down how much you're spending.
I'm telling you, a cup of noodles. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with that.
I would say the best way would probably be like,
a can of beans.
Beans and quinoa, beans and brown rice, right?
Yeah.
This sounds extreme, right? You don't need to go to these extremes, but the point is you want to start.
If you needed to, you could.
You could.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
You want to start recalibrating the way you think about, recontextualizing the way you think about your spending. Because if you're thinking about it purely in terms of the salary, well, the salary may not always come. And so if that's the case, what do you have to fall back on?
Yeah. What's your safety net?
Right. You want a passive income stream that can support your standard of living so that if you do lose your salary, you can just keep on chugging without much disruption to your life.
Yeah. So these are all really good things to think about. Again, don't stress about it, but you know, this channel is here to equip you with the skills you need and improve your financial literacy. And Greg has a lot of great resources and information, and we have these discussions so that, you know, we can talk about it and give you an opportunity to ask questions and, you know, in the live chat or in the comments below, right? So it's a nice interactive way of, you know, diving into this topic.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully this was helpful in expanding on some of the concepts we discussed in the video. If you haven't seen the video, definitely give that a watch as well.
It's very good. I loved it.
And if there are any things that I didn't cover or they're still aren't clear, please leave us a comment, and we can sort things out and make sure that what isn't clear becomes clear.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. Have a great weekend, and speak soon.
And happy wealth staking.
And happy wealth staking.